we didn't know, didn't even see the tide change. But it's a small, small world, girl, getting even smaller every day.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Baked Alaskan. Here today with another cooking episode. Today we're going to be making a simple 15-minute start to finish tomato sauce. You can make it meat eater sauce by adding ground beef, but today I'm going to show you just how to make the base tomato sauce, and then you can add what you like to it. Just going to take a rip off this bong before we get started. Now, I know I've gone over how to cut an onion before, but I'm going to do it again for people who are just new to the channel. I'll move this out of the way. First thing, before we even get to the onion, is cutting board. Always have a towel underneath your cutting board. It will prevent it from moving. And it will prevent you from slipping and cutting and hurting yourself. Second thing, always have a sharp knife when you're cutting onions especially. This will stop you from bruising the onion and making yourself cry a whole lot more than if you had a sharp knife. Guarantee you. So, the first thing you do when you cut an onion, this is how I do it. Cut the gross root off. And just try not to give in to the idea of starting to try to peel the onion right now. Just wait. It's tempting, but just wait. So you're going to trim the tip of the onion off. And again, it's tempting to start peeling, but don't. Put it back over on the front. Cut it right down the middle. Now you can peel each half quite easily by just grabbing on and peeling. I'll leave that one and do that another time. Now, to cut an onion, there are two ways to do it. You can cut it this way, flat, your hand on top, totally flat, no letting your thumb go down, because you're going to get cut. So you go flat and go right through the middle this way, halfway through, or set it up on its flat bottom, which you've made, and do it this way. Now this is wobbly, so you have to be careful when you do it this way, but this is the way I prefer. Go slow, make sure you have a sharp knife, and always keep it balanced. Don't fight it. If it starts to go, just let go. Let it tip over and don't let it take your fingers with it. So then you're going to cut it equidistant all the way on top. Turn your onion, and you're going to make little squares. This is called a dice. This is a medium large dice. I'll show you. So when you get it down to this part, you can just trim this off around the root and throw it into. Waste not, want not. Okay. So for this recipe you will need 1 onion if you choose. If you do not choose and you want to make a garlic sauce instead, you just double the garlic cloves that I'm going to tell you. And then you just can do it without the onion. And maybe some onion powder if you have it. Or if you don't like onion, that's your thing too. So what I want here is about 5. And I'm going to do a couple extra because Yeah, I'll just do these all. I did 10 cloves for no onion, and usually 5 cloves for an onion. But I have like smaller cloves here, and so I'm just going to use them all. So what you're going to need to do is trim off the tips, the root, and this will help it smush better, and that's a technical term, smush. Because what we're going to do now that I've cut them all off is we're going to smush them. You're going to take the side of your knife, put it on the top, and put your hand securely on top, and you're just going to press down. And you can kind of use your knife as leverage. And you're going to have smushed garlic. And I do this because I blend my sauce. Now, even when I don't blend my sauce, I do this. Because, to be honest, you're going to cook the garlic enough that it's not going to be like, you know, a garlic bomb in your mouth if you get a piece of this clove. Like you would like a piece of garlic, or, onion or something. It's going to be mild because it's sauteed. And, I don't know. Who doesn't like garlic? Especially in Italian food. Alright, so there's that. See you in the kitchen. Hey everybody, welcome back. These are the ingredients you will need. 1 can of tomatoes, diced preferably, but whole tomatoes will work if you're going to blend it. I use light olive oil because I prefer the flavor. You can use whatever olive oil you like. You will need at least a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. And I meant to mention earlier that picking up the peeled garlic is a huge time saver. If you're cooking just for yourself and you just need 1 clove, it's so much easier to just reach in and grab one rather than get the paper from the garlic everywhere, and yeah, just it's not cool. And without further ado, on with the show. What are you doing? Hey everybody. So the first thing you're going to do is start to warm your pan up. I have an electric element, so it takes a while longer, so I've already started. And then you're going to take your oil, whether it be canola, olive oil, or grapeseed, whatever you want. And I find olive oil lends itself better flavor-wise to Italian. And I put quite a bit in, because this is going to go into the sauce. And you can see it start to dance. So I have the chopped onion and garlic, smashed garlic in here. If you put it in and it's not sizzling, it wasn't hot enough. I know that seems like simple to say, but next time be a little more patient because you get better color and they won't sweat out in the pan rather than saute out. And there is a difference, and you can taste it, and it has to do with how the sugars develop. And there are a ton of sugars in onions. If you don't believe me, just leave them on and let them burn. And you'll have a hell of a time getting it out of the pan because of all the sugar that has burned in the pan. So, I don't like to fuss with this too much. Just let it go for the time being, and we'll come back to it. So as you can see, they're not quite translucent, but that's just where I want them because I'm going to do something next that's going to blow your mind.
What?
So when you use dried spices, they're dried out and old, basically. And you need to refresh them in a sauce for a while for them to bloom. You can speed this up, however, by starting with your onions and garlic here and your oil and adding it. What I have there is about a tablespoon of dried basil, and about 2 tablespoons of dried oregano and a tablespoon of onion powder. And the smell is amazing. Like, it just, right away you smell the dried herb, whereas if you just stick it in your sauce, you're going to sit there and wait a while for that to really happen. And subsequently, you're going to wait a while for your dinner. So this is the fastest way to get it done without waiting. And it also, it doesn't do anything bad to the herbs. It's not a shortcut, it's efficiency. So now that we've sauteed this for about a minute, I'm going to take my can of diced tomatoes and, I almost forgot something.
Uh-oh.
That was close. I almost ruined it. Red wine vinegar. I'm just kidding. So you're going to put about a tablespoon of red wine vinegar in.
Why?
Because vinegar always brightens a dish.
Like lemon juice.
Just like lemon juice, yeah. Except with the red wine vinegar, you're kind of giving it a flavor as well. It's a strong flavor, but it's a tomato sauce, so it can handle the flavor.
Mm.
It's instead of really using wine. And if you're ever pouring a can in with a big bunch of lumps and you don't want to be splashed, put your spatula like this and turn it and kind of catch it as it comes out. And no splashy. Okay, so give it a stir. It's gonna need like probably 10 minutes to simmer. But if you notice, we didn't take hardly any time to make it, to get it to this point. So it's kind of a small sacrifice to be able to have to walk away for 10 whole minutes for your dinner and not have to touch it or fuss with it. So be patient, it's coming. And here we are, 10 minutes later. You'll notice there's still quite a bit of water in here, and you're thinking, what the F, man? I don't like watery sauce. And you know what? Neither does this person right here, which you can't see that I'm pointing at myself, but I am. Anyways, I hate watery sauce myself. So I'm going to show you a trick. But first, I forgot to tell you that I put a bay leaf in here as well. So put that in when you put the tomatoes in. And remember to take it out before you blend it, okay? Because bay leaves are not edible. We just use them for aroma. But they do not digest in the human body. And in fact can actually hurt you a lot because they don't break down when you chew it, and they're very sharp. So take the bay leaf out. So now what we're gonna do is take the bay leaf out. And my trick for the watery sauce, or not having it, is making a roux. And this is a cheater roux. So you'll see I'm putting a few tablespoons of oil in with about the same amount of flour, and I'm just mixing it up with a spoon. Nothing fancy about that. This is actually how most kitchens thicken their soups. We don't ever use butter for that. I'm sorry, but that's not gonna happen in a commercial kitchen unless you're making a really small batch. So,
Expensive?
yeah, it's really expensive. Plus, butter has a really strong flavor. So, unless you're making a cream soup, you don't really want like buttery borscht or something. So this is a little thin, but it'll do. So, the next thing you're gonna do is make sure that, let's just get this out of here, is just make sure that your sauce is boiling. You have a whisk, and can you see that? So you're gonna whisk and pour in slowly. Slowly. And you'll notice it start to thicken right away. And just use your judgment on how thick you want this to be. Now it's going to be thinner when we blend it because the tomatoes are going to break down and such. But we still don't want it too watery. This looks like almost there. Now if you just pour it in like I did and you're not fast about it, you're going to end up with like a dumpling. A really gross little dumpling. But, and you don't want that in your sauce either. So, you see how it's nice and thick. And we're just going to let this simmer for a minute, just to kind of cook that raw flour taste out of it. It's not really an appetizing kind of flavor. And then we're going to talk about, I guess while it's simmering, we'll talk about this. This is called an immersion blender. It comes with a couple of different tops. There's a whisk top, and there's a top that actually goes into this mini food processor that you just stick this bit like down on, and it operates a blade in the little chamber, which is handy when you're doing things that need to be just pulverized. But like if you want any kind of a nice cut, you would never use that. So I'm thinking like carrots would be the only thing that could really withstand that kind of abuse. Everything else just be bruised and hurty. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna shut this off because this is gonna get messy. So when you're using the immersion blender, always have it completely submerged. If you don't, you're gonna wear it, and if it's hot, it's gonna hurt. So get in here, and you're gonna pulse it just a little bit at a time in the beginning. And then when it's all pulsed, you can go back over it and get the parts you missed. Now you hear that empty sound? Like, that's what happens when it's not completely submerged, and it does jettison things. That's why you don't want to keep it on like this, unless you are used to using this. Alright, so I like to leave it a little bit chunky because it's, you know, it's tomato sauce. It's going to be good on the noodles. Okay, so sorry about that, everybody. We ran out of space but this is what it looks like when it's done. I like to keep it a little chunky. It's rustic, you know. And see, it's not watery at all. It's not greasy either. It's got a nice shine to it. And it's delicious. The only thing it needs is salt and sugar. About a pinch of each, and you should be golden. If you like it saltier, put more salt in. But you shouldn't go crazy on the sugar. Alright, everybody. I just want to tell you a few things about the sauce. It will hold this like this. You let it cool completely. Put it in an airtight container, like one of those Ziploc twist-on containers, and it will hold for a week in a nice cold refrigerator. Now, if you're taking it in and out of the fridge or leaving it on the counter a long time, it's going to last a shorter amount of time. So keep it cold, then it'll last a while. I like to have this around. You can use it for like chicken finger dip, like marinara sauce. You can do ground meat and add to make a bolognese sauce. You can, it's very versatile. You can use it for pretty much everything. Change the seasoning on it and you have yourself like a taco sauce. You know, change it to like a cumin or like a cumin, oregano, chili powder are the three that you need to make a good chili sauce. So go nuts, people. Get a can of tomatoes and just start experimenting. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I hope you're enjoying these cooking episodes. If you are, please leave me a thumbs up. And if you can, a comment down below. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks again. Be well, everybody.